The story started when an old lady showing a young girl a jade ring. She tells her a story about a goblin who is cursed and cannot die unless his wife pull his sword. Flash, this guy is the goblin and he is the great general, and this is the king. And he is jealous of his general in order his queen and the general meant to be killed. You see that the queen is wearing the same ring that was shown earlier to the girl. One of his men stabs him on his chest and lies him dying on the grass. He is granted conditional immortality. Back in the present, you see this guy who is a Grim Reaper at the side of the car accident. A girl is dying and he is escorting her away. Analogy here, teacup represents a soul has passed on. The goblin walks by the Grim Reaper, noticed him. The goblin is sitting here when he happens to see a woman getting hit by a car. He saves her and she gave birth a girl named Yuntak. But this girl is special because as she grows, Yuntak starts seeing things that no one else can. For example, she sees the Grim Reaper here. He is surprised because typically when he puts on his hat, it makes him invisible to humans. Yuntak is now a senior high school and while walking home, he walked past the goblin. She goes to the ocean with a birthday cake and wishes for a job and a boyfriend. The goblin hears the wishes and suddenly appears. It turns out she can summon him whenever she blows out. Both are unsure why it has happened. They are also surprised to see that she can go through his portals to different locations. Here they are in Canada and then back to Korea. The two of them talk and she tells him that she is his wife and she will marry him. He doesn't believe her because only his wife can see the sword stuck in him. Throughout the years, there has been a family who is loyal to the goblin. Dokwa who ends up renting on his house with the Grim Reaper and the goblin, making the two of them roommates. Yuntak lives with her aunt and they don't treat her very well. She wants to move out but she doesn't have any money or job. So she gets a job with this girl named Sunny. The Reaper told Yuntak that she's been indulging her for the last 19 years. He tells that she should not have been born and that she is his next target. The goblin appears and says that he will protect her. Geist arrived at Yuntak's house and her aunt says to go find Yuntak for the pay. The guys kidnap Yuntak and the goblin and the Reaper arrived and rescued her. Yuntak has been sleeping at the chicken store, and Sally allows her to stay as long as she showers. The Reaper is walking and stops an old woman selling things, and he sees a jade ring, and when he is grabbing it, he meets Sunny. Yuntak goes to her favorite spot near the sea to cry. And when it starts to rain, she turns around and she sees the goblin behind her holding an umbrella. She goes to visit the goblin on his house, and it turns out that she can actually see the sword. She then asks if she can move into his house, and that house is perfect for his children. The goblin doesn't tell Yuntak that when she pulls out the sword, he will die. The goblin wants the curse lifted, but he doesn't want to leave Yuntak. He takes on dinner and tests her by asking what health look she passes the test. The goblin has a flash forward and Yuntak is now age 28 and she looks happy without him. He doesn't see himself in the future and he figures what happened when he decides to end immortality and then Yuntak will live with a happy life without. He goes home and asks Yuntak to remove the sword, but she tells him that she wants to wait for the first snowfall. When the first snow starts falling, she reaches to grab the sword, but she's unable to touch it and she can pull that, so she instead gives him a little kiss. They wonder maybe true love is needed to remove the sword. She apologizes for not being able to pull the sword and tells him that she really does want to be his bride and start a family, because she never had a family herself. She cries and he hugs her. She holds the sword and this time she's able to grab it, but as soon as she does, the goblin pushes her. But he realized that Yuntak was in danger, then he went to save her. Yuntak is a goblin's first love in his 900-year-long life. He did not have any relationship with the queen that was killed before because it was his sister. The goblin runs into a lady in red and she says that if he lives, the Yuntak will die. She says that Yuntak was fated to kill him, and if she cannot fulfill her destiny, and she shall not exist. Yuntak learned the truth about what will happen to the goblin if the sword was removed. The Reaper noticed that Sunny has a jade ring on her finger. Flashback. The queen is Sunny and she is the goblin's sister. The evil minister advises the king to kill the queen and her brother. The king demands that the queen make a choice between him or her traitor brother. We learn her decision as she takes an arrow that killed her. Meanwhile, Goblin and Yuntak are slowly falling in love, and he saves him from those guys and shared moments. They tell Sunny the truth of her past, and at first, she doesn't believe that, but then she claimed that she can actually feel an arrow in her heart. The Reaper gave Sunny a bouquet of daisy. Goblin tells Yuntak that she will die if she doesn't put out the sword, and she tells him that she would rather die together because he is the reason why she lived. Suddenly, the evil minister appears and tells Yuntak that the goblin killed him, and says that it was the Reaper who would command that the goblin be killed by the sword. The Reaper is outside of Sunny's house, and tells her that the Grim Reaper's kiss will make someone remember past life. We see that the queen is Sunny, and that the king is the Grim Reaper. He tells her that she will die if she takes the side of her brother. The Reaper tells Sunny to forget the past. Sunny and her brother reunite and she apologizes. The minister being attacked by the goblin. He tells the goblin that his enemy has been by his side the entire time, and that the Reaper is actually the king. The goblin goes looking for the Reaper. The goblin grabs the Reaper on his throat and tells him that he ruined his life and killed everyone he cared about. The Reaper looks to him crying when the goblin leaves. We see that the evil minister talked the driver to hit Yuntak's mother. He tells the Reaper that he will kill Sunny again in this life. Flashback. We see the king being served poison medicine by the evil minister and realize that he is committing suicide because of his guilt. He walks along the village and gives his wife's ring to the old lady who sells stuff on the bridge. The Reaper confessing to the goblin and asks him to kill him, and the goblin just walks away. The evil minister tries to kill Sunny, but Yuntak protects her. The goblin and the Reaper settles their differences and work together again, trying to kill the evil minister. The goblin reveals that the reason why he went back to the king was to tell him to kill the evil minister. He had no idea that him and his sister were going to die. Then he realizes that the sword in him was used to kill the evil minister. The Reaper meets Sunny and she tells him that they have to break up and gives him back the jade ring. The evil minister begins and Yuntak summons the goblin and tells him that she will sacrifice her life so he can live. She faints and the goblin uses her hand to pull the sword from his body. He strikes down the evil minister. Before he dies, he tells Yuntak that he will return on the first snowfall of the year. He then disappears. 10 years later, we see Yuntak with Reaper behind her in line, still friends with Sunny. It's the first snowfall of the season and they are reunited, but she doesn't remember him. He finds the Reaper, but everyone forgotten about him. And then, she remembered the goblin. The Reaper meets Sunny, who tells him that they cannot meet ever again in this lifetime. The Reaper gets notice that the school bus full of children were going to die. Yuntak got into a car accident and died. The Reaper brings her to the tea room and she meets the goblin there and tells him to wait for her reincarnation and never forget her. 30 years later, Sunny walks through the door and the Grim Reaper puts the ring back on her finger. He takes her hand and walks. The goblin sees the Reaper and Sunny reincarnated and together. Then, the goblin and the reincarnated Yuntak are now reunited.